Hey, sorry this video is a little late. I know nobody minds, but yeah, I tried to do a different one and had to it was a difficult topic and I felt it was important to get it right and focus, and I was quite rambly, and I know sometimes these videos are quite meandering, and that's okay because I'm not preparing a script beforehand and reciting it. I'm exploring what I turn out to say when I'm thinking for a topic, but I want to be practicing getting to the point a bit more, and sometimes when it's a topic that feels especially important, I'll be a bit more focused. But this one will be a little meandering because it's just kind of diary. So like, I last time I talked about that I'm going to start some kind of crowdfunding campaign to fund my next game, hopefully. Yeah, that will be in a week or two, hopefully. I'm just like busy. It's been hard working on the game and preparing that and everything else, but yeah, I've written the text. I still need to do like a video for it, like a short focused video for it, which I can do. Yeah, so I talked last time about how I was like fantasizing about doing like physical rewards and stuff, and thanks to the people who gave me feedback on that. That on the whole, the response was nobody wants a thing just for the sake of having a thing. People don't need there to be a physical reward to be interested in supporting the game. If there's something that I really want to make, that I feel is a worthwhile thing to make, then people are interested. And yeah, my conclusion was that I bristled a little bit about this like idea of like it being just for the sake of it. Like, obviously it's not just for the sake of it, but I realized why that was getting at me was the thing itself would not be just for the sake of it, but doing it now, just because now is when I need to ask for crowdfunding, would be for the sake of it. If I want to make merchandise, like t-shirts or whatever, then that's a thing that I can do at an appropriate time, and either crowdfunded a printing run of something or set up one of the various things, online stores that allow you to put your own designs there to be ongoing selling it. That's with like a print on demand kind of approach. That's a thing I can do when I have the attention and focus to do that, and there's no reason to try and squeeze that in now when I already have far too much on my plate, just because that's a thing people do in crowdfunding campaigns. It's like, yeah, one idea I got quite excited about was like a game manual kind of thing, because I was reading this book, Vermis. It's impossible to read the font, but Vermis it's called, by Plasterboom, and it's a manual of a game that doesn't exist. It lists, all the character classes and the gods, and tells you things that happen in the game, and gives you advice for what to do at different locations. Manual / strategy guide for a game that doesn't exist. It's awesome. I recommend it. Yeah. So this got me really inspired. Like, it would be cool to make a manual for my game, and because one of the things I've been trying to solve is in my games I always try and have like a certain sense of there being a world, like just give enough little hints that people's imagination can fill in the gaps and believe that they're exploring a world or hacking computers or out in space or whatever. Just enough cues, like tropes and cliches, and like little twists on them to send your imagination off in a slightly different direction, but not too much detail, because I unless it's a game where the thing that it's doing is telling a story, then that can really get in the way. And yeah, and from the feedback I've gotten through the years, I've understood that that's enough for some people. Some people interpret those clues and feel the hole that I was trying to hint at, and other people don't. And some people don't perceive that at all. They just go, there's no story here, I can't play this game. And some people kind of get frustrated that, like, they can feel that there is something there, but I don't know, maybe they don't trust their imagination to fill the gap, or they feel like they're missing something because there's not, or it's just not meeting an expectation that they have. And yeah, so I've just like been thinking about how can I have a bit stronger world building, a sense of place, so that like it can meet more people's need with that without overdoing it. And one approach I've been taking, I think this came from JW Nijman. Sorry, I'm terrible with the Dutch pronunciation. Jewap, who, it might have been someone else after all that effort to get the name right. But the suggestion was to really go into all the detail of planning out what the lore is, making up the whole story, and then don't put any of it in the game. But like let that extra work that's gone into building it seep through. And I've been doing that. I have a lot more concrete what the story is than I usually bother to construct. And it's a good approach. Thanks Joel. It's the fact that I have worked out more details, even though I'm not going to tell you what they are, it gives more ideas for the little clues, and even inspires some mechanics. Yeah, it's very similar to what I've done before, imagining a whole and giving clues towards it, but I just going a bit more concretely into that before stepping back to what you're actually going to do. But yeah, reading Vermis, I was thinking this is another thing that I could do, right? Like make a manual for a game that has some of the things that will be in the way if they're popping up while you're playing the game, but it gives you a different way to engage with it, and it could have true and false hints about game mechanics. You know, like like not a manual that's in service to a game, but a secondary work that stands independently and has some relationship to it. And I've recognised through thinking about what to do for crowdfunding, I've recognised that that's a project that I might like to do at some point in the future. I don't have to try and force myself to do it now just because I'm crowdfunding now. Yeah, I've seen so many people like put a cool idea like that in their crowdfund and then find that fulfillment is actually a big task. And like a lot of that is underestimating the costs of production and shipping, but it's and it's the time investment. But yeah, even though crowdfunding is a bit of an indie style thing, still the big campaigns that we've seen and have our impressions formed by are done by teams, at least, like often indie teams. These days, like it's also like there are just big companies using it as a separate avenue for selling products. I don't really get it, but it's there. Yeah, I am a solo game developer. I'm working by myself. When I have the funds to do so, I like to collaborate in small or bigger ways with more people, but right now it's just me. And if you know, something like figuring out what company to use for producing something and getting the design finalized and that sort of stuff, like that might just be a week or like less than a week of work, but that's still like for me, if I spend like 2 or 3 days sorting out a thing that is going to be attached, then that's a substantial fraction of my working time. Whereas if you have a team of like 5 people, it's the same amount of time to do that, but it's 1/5 as much of the total available person time. And yeah, I was talking about this with Tara, my wife, and like she said that, like, yeah, sometimes it crosses her mind that like she could potentially do some of these things, but then she remembers how much she has on her plate, because she has her career, which is like it's been drastically slowed down by having children and me having a long-term illness. But yeah, she has a huge amount of stuff backlog to do that she's way behind on because of like all that time when like I was too sick to do anything and she was having to care for me as well as a child. And yeah, so she is not. She's actually, we're planning for her to make a contribution to the game, which is, I'll mention that soon, but that's a fun little collaboration that's coming out. But yeah, and so if there's a team of 5 or 10 people, like often, you know, not all of those people are even able to be actively making a constructive contribution to the game at all times. Like the visual art side can tend to go quite quickly compared to the programming side, and you often get phases where like they've done some concept art and the what they've done isn't ready to get into the game yet, and they're sort of waiting for something else to do, and so doing more marketing and merchandise type stuff is just a little task that can be fit in. Whereas, yeah, when it's even the concept of concept art at all, like concept art is something for the artists to do when it's not exactly determined what needs to go in the game yet. When I'm doing the graphics for a game, like I'll do concepting, like sketches, figure out the shapes and colours and stuff, but I don't end up with these beautiful, fully rendered, here is the concept art, because you don't need that just to work out the concept. It's I don't want to say it's just something for the artist to do until there's the work that goes in the game, but like it can be, but it's more for internal communication when you have a larger team, to be honest. It's if one person's carrying the whole vision, then they don't need to fully render something until it's the actual render. It's because they can see it in their head. But when you have several people that need to agree on what it looks like, and when you're trying to convince other people, then yeah, you need to have a thing that looks complete and convincing. Which, yeah, that's a concern for me with this crowdfunding idea, that like the game is a bit under halfway through. I've put a certain amount of work into graphics to figure out what resolution it's at, how the screen layout is going to go, but basically nothing is final. If I launch a crowdfunding campaign and say, like, I'm not showing you the game, but just trust me, some of you will trust me, a lot of people will probably believe me but not want to put money towards it, because people are so visually oriented in what they are interested in. Yeah, I think it would be a stretch to try and do that without screens and concepts and whatever. So I'll put screenshots in there, I'll show you what it looks like right now, but that's not representative of the final product. And if I do that, I know there's going to be a lot of people who just assume that is representative of how it's going to look, because again, people are quite visually oriented. They see a thing, they think that's the thing. And I could, if I had lots of spare time and energy, I could put a bunch of work into faking up screenshots that look more like a plausible final version rather than a current intermediate thing. And that is what a lot of people do. And again, like you can do that when you have an extra person whose job is just taking care of what things look like. And yeah, yeah, so like it'll just be what it is, and like people will just have to accept that I can put it together as polished as I can right now, and I'm not able to make it more polished without more money to keep going on and spend more time on it. And that's that's logical. But yeah, I just have these little anxieties in knowing how it's going to be perceived and the reactions that people are going to have. But struggling, but progress is happening. It's I will announce the game and do the crowdfunding in a week or two, and please give me money when I do, because otherwise I'm not. Yeah, it's this really confusing situation. Like there is not much money left, but I'm not stressing because I have something good that I'm working on that I'm pretty confident brings in money, but there's a gap that needs to be filled. Yeah, and most of the time I'm not stressing, but some moments I am utterly panicking because, if this doesn't work out, we are fucked. Like, that's slightly strong. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm working really productively on the game. My health still isn't all the way there. And I work slower than I used to, but it's enough. But it takes a lot of flexibility. That on the days when I have the energy, I just work and do it, and on the days when I don't, I rest. And yeah, I don't feel like I'm massively ill anymore because I'm able to do all the things that need to be done and be productive. But I think if I had to get some kind of normal job to try and cover it, I would really struggle. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. Just like having to produce work on specific days at specific times. I need that flexibility to, and obviously there are jobs that have some level of flexibility, but yeah, after my experience having a relationship with a publisher last year, where I was in charge of my own time and was able to work productively, and I was doing great, and somehow it still wasn't enough for them. Like they had issues that I'll not get into today, but yeah, even though I was able to work productively and get the thing that actually needed to be done, my sickness was an obstacle to that working out. Not the main obstacle in my opinion, but and need not have been an obstacle had it just been treated with the respect it deserved, and had I been treated with the respect I deserved. But an obstacle, and yeah, I'm that could be a challenge in other situations as well. Yeah, anyway, thanks, bye, see you again soon.